How you doing, y'all? Welcome to Confidence. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't been feeling my best the last 2 days, but it doesn't mean I don't feel great. I feel good, but I don't feel great. And there's a lot that happened. All right, let's get right into it. Fuck it. This week, we're going to talk about boundaries, playing hard to get, and how to handle a love bomber later on the podcast. But for right now, I got to tell you what the fuck is going on in my mind. You have no choice. All right, sit down and start listening. Here's what's happening. Really long story short, this week really started off a little crazy. So here, I'm just going to keep it really fucking real with you. So, over the last month or so, obviously I've been going no contact with the long distance girl, right? But what that means is essentially I haven't really reached out to her at all. And she's kind of broken the boundary a few times, just to keep it real, on reaching out to me. And when I really look at that at first, I'm like, oh, it's not a big deal. Whatever. Okay. She calls me and I answer. Of course, I'm still part of it, right? I'm fucking, not good there. But at the same time too, it's like she calls me, but I almost feel like it's not a big deal because oh, okay, as long as I'm not breaking the boundary or not breaking the no contact, then it doesn't count. But here's kind of what I'm finding out, because here's what's happening. She kind of just, then this past weekend, right? She called me a few times, which again, I'm not sitting here saying it's a big deal, right? Cause I'm just whatever. I'm kind of all right, cool, whatever. I get to talk to you here and there. And I do miss her, and I do miss the friendship, the companionship, whatever the fuck it is. But the hard part is I get stuck in this in between, right? And it hasn't really bothered me much up until this point. I've been able to do my shit, stay focused on my shit. And if she just calls, I'm doing something, I tell her, and then, we'll just talk another time that she ends up calling me or some shit. With that being said, again, I didn't think it was really necessarily a big deal until this week. This week, I feel like shit changed for me a little bit. And I talked to her a couple of times over the weekend. And then I didn't hear from her, one day. That same night, God damn it. For some fucking reason, this girl hit me up the week before, some girl that I'd hooked up with from my past. And she had mentioned something about hanging out. And I kind of knew what this meant, right? I knew this meant just all right, she's she had a good time the last time, let's just say that. And she was probably down for a little bit of a round two. Now, here's the thing. The last time I've been with somebody was, the time that if you go to Boys Lie, the episode Boys Lie, I talk about how, we were on the brink of breaking up, me and the long distance situation. And then I'd hooked up with that other chick. And again, it didn't feel really good. I didn't really like it. It was just bullshit. And if you've been following me on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, I did post a video about this girl. And essentially I talked about how I guess let's get into it for half a second. But the girl, I hit her up. I'm like, yo, you should come over Monday night, whatever. She comes over. I hang out. I'm not going to get into the details. It really doesn't need to be that deep. Other than hung out for an hour or two. I got some food. And then we kind of here's the thing. I'm sitting down next to her, and in my mind, and even, honestly, even before she came through, I was like, yo, I really want to cancel. Why am I doing this? I really want to cancel. And the back of my mind, and this is what I was telling myself. This was the inner dialogue, was all right, well, to be honest, you haven't been hanging out with anybody. You aren't doing anything. You have been so to yourself. You got to do something different. You got to break this routine that you've been in, where all I've been doing is pretty much working. Now, I've been going out occasionally, but for the most part, I've just been doing really, focusing on my shit. So life has kind of been a little monotonous, right? I haven't had really much connection, again, besides the long distance, hitting me up every once in a blue moon. I really haven't been talking to anybody, and really not at all. And I guess just in the moment when I did invite her over, I invited her over the night before. I think I was just having a little bit of a moment. I hadn't banged, and I was just all right, maybe this will be something that could shake up my week, honestly. But the day comes, the moment comes, and I just was sitting there being another situation where I'm sitting there I guess I don't really want to do this, but it's almost just now you're here and now I'm already in it. And now I'm all right, whatever. And the hard part is, again, yo, why am I even feeling this way, right? Like, first off, I'm technically single as fuck. I haven't seen long distance since fucking February. That's kind of crazy. Like, we're in May. But obviously, again, it's like, and again, I don't think it was really necessarily fully about that. I think it was really more about like, I don't have any emotional connection towards this person. I'm not like, again, she's not a bad person. Like, it's not like it was a bad vibe. Like, she's chill, but like, I knew it was not somebody that I really wanted to be around from an emotional standpoint. It was really just somebody that I wanted to, I guess, bang. But even then, when she got there, like, I was like, damn, maybe I could like just drive her home and not do anything. Swear to God, thought about that. But then I was like, this is going to sound insane. But because I invited her and we were like doing that, I feel like I knew what the implications were. And at that point I was like, and listen, you don't have to believe me. I swear to God, this is all inner thoughts and dialogue while this is happening. I was just like, I guess fuck it. Like, to be honest, I popped a Cialis before too. And I was just like, whatever, let's just, honestly, I'm not even joking. In my mind, I was just like, let me just do it just to do it. Hanging out on the couch, smoking a little bit of a joint. I don't know. We start and like, it's so weird because like, I feel like she was into it. And I think last time we had slept with each other, like, I just was like a different animal. Like, you know what I mean? I think back to like a year or so ago, like when I was like hooking up with people kind of casually, like, I feel like sex was very performative for me. And what I mean by that is like, my goal was to like be the best bang that each girl encounters. So anytime I encountered a girl, like my goal was like, yo, I'm going to fuck this girl good. Like, you know what? Like, let her like fucking thirst for it, that type of energy. Right. And just do my thing. And then if I didn't really like her afterwards, then, I don't know if I'd hook up with her ever again, but at least I left a good impression, that type of energy. But now I'm at this place in my life where like, I can give two fucks whether or not you like me, you like the sex I give you. I don't give a fuck. Obviously if it's somebody I like, I guess, then it would be different. But again, when I say that too, I'm not saying as a, not a bad person. It's just, again, emotionally, I have zero investment into you. And I just already know that you're not for me like that. So she's the type of person where she's still in that mode, right? Like, it was very performative. I could feel that, like, where it was almost just like, and maybe honestly, I don't really know how it is, but maybe she was down like emotionally. Sure. But honestly, I've only hung out with her for an hour and I haven't seen her in a year. It's not like I talked to her ever, literally ever. I'm not even joking. It's not like we share DMs like that. Like, it was like this past week, yo, want to pull up? Sure. That was it. That was a transaction. So we get into it. You could just tell by the way I was, and she knew it too, because even initially beforehand, I was being quiet. During, bro, I swear to God, I could barely kiss. I feel like all I'm really trying to focus on is like getting a nut. And, I'm like, all right, hopefully she's like satisfied with it. I mean, she sounded that way. She was like yelling. I was like, this is out of control. But like, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like my normal fucking, get to work self, I guess, like my normal, like, I want to bring the beast out. You know what I'm saying? I want to say dirty shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's the energy I usually have during sex. And I just did not have that at all. It was really just more like, I'm here and I'm fucking you, and it's just not really staying hard. And then eventually I just like pull out, I stop, and I'm just like, I don't know. I just like, she backs up and she's like, she almost got like, I think she almost got like offended. She's like, oh, I could just tell you're not into it. She's like, she's like, what's going on? Like, are you just not, she's just like, what's going on? I just like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I just like, there's just no emotional connection there for me. Like, I don't know. Like, I just like, I don't know. She's like, no, it's good. It's good. It's good. Like, it's not a big deal. Whatever. It's fine. Like, it happens. Like, I'm just not that, like, I'm just not your person, or I'm just not like that person. I'm like, yo, chill. Like, it's not, I swear to God, it's not personal. It has nothing to do with you. It really just has to do with the fact that we literally have no connection. And, obviously gets her shit together. I drive her home. And I don't know. It was weird, right? Like what I've recognized is the last 2 times now that I've like slept with these like kind of rando chicks, I'm like, yo, this isn't it at all. You know, it really is like, that doesn't feel good. Like, I am craving a deep connection really bad, honestly, like something fucking real. So which brings us to part 2, which is after that goes down, you know, I was doing so good. I was feeling good about my process, all those kinds of things. But now we hit this week and, you know, like I'm having the weirdest, I've never felt like this before. This back and forth in my heart and in my mind. And, you know, here's the thing. And I called Jay last night. So I talked to my best friend, Jay. I called him on the phone because honestly, I'm having pretty intense anxiety. I went for a walk, bro. I couldn't sleep last night. Like this sounds very strange as to like, why would he be feeling like this? You know, he's single, you know, whatever, he did his thing. It didn't work out, but it's not a big deal. It is what it is. But I keep having these like really intense feelings of, sometimes I'm like, is all the work that I'm doing, sometimes I question it. Like I have put work over love and relationships like my entire life. You know what I'm saying? All the time. I've always valued that more, truly. And I think what's really difficult is, I hate to admit this, but I feel like sometimes, like because of this happening, it's like almost making me second guess why in the first place I'm leaving this long distance situation. And of course, obviously it's long distance. And you know, I guess it wasn't perfect in that way, but at the same time too, it's like, this is also going to sound fucking crazy. And I talked to one of my clients about this today too. And she has I've helped her with her avoidant, you know, guy that she's now dating. But long story short, I said to her, I was like, you know, it's really strange because I think the long distance situation, she was the first girl that I think I've ever met that I could like see myself having kids with. Like I look at her and I could be like, okay, like I think I could be with you for a pretty long time. And honestly, I think I would respect you as being a mother, you know what I'm saying? And like, it's that like wholesome, and it's that like good energy and those values. And I feel like she likes me for me, and she doesn't, you know, like she genuinely cares. And I'm not saying she's perfect or whatever, because I think that's the other thing about me, right? Is like my whole life, I've always just have been striving for this like perfect girl. And like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like she's the end all be all. Like, I'm not saying like what I'm doing right now or my process is necessarily wrong. And this is the internal battle that I'm having. I recognize that that person is somebody that I could see myself being with, but also at the same time, I am not in that same area, which makes it very difficult. And I do also have a very strong focus on work. And what happens is when I'm in a long distance relationship, sometimes I feel like it takes me away from my work. But what I'm also recognizing is the working 24/7 thing is not sustainable. And that's not life. You know what I'm saying? Like this can't just be it. Now I understand. Here's the thing. It's like, maybe I just take my fucking licks. You know, I've come this far. I just move on and I, you know, just go to work, keep doing what I'm doing. And eventually, you know, don't get me wrong, I will find somebody else, right? Like there will be another opportunity down the line. And I'm sure I'll meet somebody here and it could happen. I'm not saying it won't, and I'm not saying it can't. But I think something that's really difficult for me is it's hard because I feel like I've never, like, yeah, like maybe I gave that situation a chance, but you know, when I look back, it's like, I don't know, like I ran away again, you know, and I feel like that's the avoidant in me. But the hard part is like, and this is, I think, the battle for every single avoidant person on the earth and even every man, right? It's like, or anybody who's avoidant, I guess. I think the struggle is like did I make the right choice? Or did I leave you because I'm just truly being avoidant, right? Like, am I not with you for the right reasons? And I think that's something that I've been like fucking really dealing with so heavily, is because I'm like, I know this girl likes me. I know she shows up for me. Like, we've got good vibes in the conversation. Yes. Are there things about her that are not perfect? Definitely. Like, there's values and differences between us, but for the most part, she is somebody that I highly respect, that I do think understands me pretty well. That I could see myself being around for a very long time. The hard part is we haven't necessarily been able to spend that in time, that person in time, like that time in person, but also at the same time, each time we have, those times have been predominantly very good. But also at the same time, now it's on the other side of the country, and it's like, okay, the other hard part is I don't want this to be an overreaction to me sleeping with somebody else, because I think this is what happened. Because I had slept with somebody else and then I posted that video, I know that she saw it, and then I'm like, okay, that's just another strike where I'm like, eventually at some point, this girl is going to stop caring, or not stop caring. I feel like she'll always care about me. But I think at some point or another, she's not going to be able to put up or see some of those things, and understandably so. But also the other hard part is I shouldn't feel guilty for doing something while I'm single. And the only reason I feel that way is because I have been picking up the phone. I have been answering. I think if I did not answer the phone after we have like stopped talking, I don't know if I'd really be feeling this way. I think a lot of the reason I feel this way is because, you know, in mild context, we have kept in contact. And that's why each time she had called me, like sometimes I'd been so weird with her on the phone, because I'm like, on one hand, like it's nice. And I talked about this in the last podcast. It's like, on one hand, it's nice. You know what I'm saying? Like, to like fill me in. But now it's like, I still feel guilty when I do something like that, right? Like technically I shouldn't feel guilty about it. But on the other hand, it's like that is constantly being in my mind. But I don't know. That's what I'm trying to say. On the other side of the coin is we do really like each other. And I think like we do have that bond, but God damn, like why does this shit got to be so complicated? So, you know, that's really been my inner dialogue, and honestly trying to understand what is really important in my life. You know, one thing I will say too is I think for my work has really suffered. And again, you probably wouldn't really notice, but like the last like couple weeks, I feel like because I've been so focused on it, I feel like I'm doing too much, and I'm not allowing myself to be creative and relaxed and enjoy my life. Honestly, I will say the last 2 weeks, I've been burnt the fuck out. I mean, don't get me wrong. Business is booming. You know what I'm saying? Shit is popping off. And I love that for me, right? That's great. Cause let me tell you something. I bought a fucking car that, to be honest, that's another thing I feel fucking a little guilty about, because I should be putting all that money into my business. I got a lot of stressors right now. But I guess that being said, I'm like, damn, I really got so much on my plate. But that's what I'm saying to myself is like, yo, I got a new car. I got a nice house. I got a ton of new business, which is great, but it's occupying so much of my time. Like, first off, it would be nice to have somebody, but then the other factor is she's not even here. So what am I really holding on to if I really, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's parts of me that wants to call her, you know, right now and just be like, yo, what's good? Like, sorry about the fucking girl. But like, you know, like let's still stay in contact. But also it's like, it's almost like I have to be strong enough for us. That's the way I see it, to navigate these uncomfortable feelings and still not break the boundary. Even when I'm feeling at my shittiest, and when I'm feeling at my loneliest, and when I'm feeling like my safety net is being ripped away from me, I'm still holding it. Like, yo, you know how hard it is to not have said something after I posted that video, and I could tell that I could feel her energy. She doesn't even need to be fucking doing anything. You know what I'm saying? I know she watches. I know she had seen that, and I knew that it definitely hurt her. And all I want to do is go and make it right. Right? I want to be like, yo, it's not that, like, I still love you. I don't care about these other people. But I can't go and say that if I'm not really certain. But I'm not really certain because you're not here. So I guess that just kind of leaves me in a spot of like, I don't know. Sometimes you just feel uncomfortable. And I guess that's what it is. It's like, but here's the other part now. Like, let's say I wait this out and I don't say anything, and then she calls me or tries to talk to me. It's almost just like, fuck, I do all of this work. I feel so uncomfortable to stop myself from talking to you. And then you call me and it's hard because like I still emotionally am so invested in you to some degree, right? It's like, do I pick up that phone? You know what I'm saying? It's just like, wouldn't it just make more sense if I didn't really fucking end it? Maybe I should block. Like, this is the hardest motherfucking part because again, it's almost like I'm on the brink of like, I could call her and tell her to be my wife tomorrow. And the other option is like, if she calls me, not fucking answer at all and just say, well, this is better for my mental health because you keeping me around with the little phone calls. The hard part is then I start to still feel things. God damn it. Like, what a fucking bind. And it just came out of nowhere. And I think it just came because I'm like, I recognize I'm like, yo, I do not want to be fucking with these other people. I don't care about somebody I don't care about. But maybe that's what it is it's just maybe I haven't got to the other side yet. Maybe I just haven't found that connection that has really excited me in Arizona. And maybe what I'm doing is I'm holding on to this old connection. But, you know, in a lot of ways, when like the thing is, when I mentally think about her, like I said, that's a very powerful thought where it's like, I haven't necessarily met somebody in my life where when you know what I'm saying? When I think about our friendship, I'm like, again, you're somebody I feel like I could be around. You're somebody that I feel like, you know what it is? It's almost like I want to like go another 3-4 years, maybe like a year, 2 years, and then just be like, nope, me and you, let's go get married. Like, I just needed to figure shit out, which is completely unfair. But that's also an insane thought too. All right, you want me to get fucking really real. Here's where it really goes. Fuck me. I don't want to talk about this, but I'm going to. You know, this is what I think happens for a lot of avoidant men. And I'm going to speak for myself, but I think a lot of people or a lot of avoidant men or men in general might feel this way. And I'm just going to be real. I think the hard part is, you know, yeah, you know, we got a long distance situation, but at what point is enough enough? And what I mean by that is I always feel like in the back of my mind, the more that I work, the more that I grow, the more that I make more money, get more success, you know, have more fame, and all things of ego, right? It's almost like it feels like I'm going to find a partner that is what? Better, hotter, cooler, more aligned to me, you know, more in alignment with what I'm doing, maybe in the same location, which all very valid, right? Pretty valid. And I think that's the really hard part for an avoidant person is you're always like looking on the horizon for what's next, what's next, what's next, what's next, what's next. And it's almost just like it sucks because each time you find a new connection, you meet somebody, you hang out, and like they are cool. Like that's what I'm trying to say. There's not much wrong, and there's a lot of things that are right about my situation with this person, other than the fact that we are far. And at one point, that's what I'm trying to say is like, do I need hotter? Do I need better? Do I need smarter? Do I need something more aligned? I mean, that's the thing is like each person comes with a unique set of attributes and pros and cons. And I guess that's the hard part is like, how many times can you bet and bet and bet and bet? And don't get me wrong, I guess I could keep going, right? Because again, as stupid as this sounds, or just as real as this is, like, I don't know if it's real, but just the facts is like, I truly feel the more that I grow, right? Let's say, again, I come up on stronger confidence. I keep delivering on the promises that I give to myself. I keep achieving my goals. I keep becoming more self-assured. I keep, making more money. I keep increasing my popularity. I do feel like in my life, historically, if I look back at previous partners, like if I go back to college, now, I guess from a looks perspective, they're all like in the same tier, I guess. But I feel like the partners have got more aligned and have gotten better in some way in my eyes. But I guess let me actually let me look at this right now. So if I really look at my exes, like they all really have pros and cons. And I feel like no one is ever fully complete. And I guess this is why the idea of stopping on somebody that you just vibe with and you mesh with and just has enough of what you want, maybe that's the thing to do. Because when I really look back at it, I look at it like this. Like, I feel like my first college ex, like she was really pretty, but maybe like personality wise wasn't necessarily my jam, and motivation wise. Then like my other college girl, my college sweetheart, the girl that I ended up redating, she was probably one of the smartest, most entrepreneurial savvy girls, but maybe looks wise wasn't like a 10, you know what I'm saying? Was probably like, she was really pretty, but you know what I'm saying? In comparison, and I guess I'm being real as fuck right now. So buckle up. And I'm sure, you could grade me all you want. But with that being said, like, so business savvy, really understood my personality, good vibe, but there were just things about her that also like I was picking on, where I felt like all I did was push her buttons, and maybe I felt like her boundaries weren't very good. And I feel like that really like got to me. And yeah, I kind of like lost attraction in that situation because I felt like I was growing on TikTok and I wasn't really ready for a relationship. And then I met like one of the girls that really like fucked me over, but like she was probably the hottest. But that's the thing, is she was the hottest, and she was kind of like cool personality, but in terms of intelligence, you want to talk about nah, let's not go there. She definitely is more of the energy of like, again, just very pretty, very like cool socially, but when it comes to like life and like straight intelligence, like no one's home. So again, pros and cons. Are you seeing this where it's like, all these people, it's like no one's perfect, which makes sense, right? And then like I had Texas, who was like very business savvy, but I was a little bit, I told her she wasn't a gym girl. So like that bugged me right about that person. So maybe it was like kind of a, initially maybe a looks thing, which is kind of fucked up, but just real. Then I had the girl from Canada who was really in alignment with me, but really far, long distance, good looking girl, entrepreneur, but she had some demons, and she definitely had an OnlyFans, which then was a no for me. And then I look at this last girl and I'm like, okay, like out of the sum total of the rest, like I feel like she's one of the prettiest, definitely. And I also feel like she does understand me, like to my, my character and just like my vibe and my personality, which I really like. The part that she, I guess, didn't have, or maybe whatever. And again, this is really insane analysis. Is maybe she's not really like business savvy. She's not an entrepreneur. You know what I'm saying? She doesn't get the hustle like that. She's not really a hustler. It's not like, yeah, she's independent and she's smart in her own way. But in terms of alignment with me, that part, I guess, was not there. But when it really comes down, like, that's what I'm saying. I guess I don't really need that. And then, maybe a little bit more active would be really nice. Jesus Christ. And here's the thing. Listen, I know I'm sitting here saying all this shit, but I might as well I'm just getting it all out there. Am I not? Like, I know it's going to be painful to hear. Listen, let's be honest. I'm not fucking perfect either. And you could sit here. Listen, I know for a fact the girl that I was dating long distance, I feel like there was guys before me that were more attractive than me. Honest. Like, she dated some really hot dudes, tall, sexy. Not saying, I'm not one of those things. And I'm not perfect. I definitely am critical, as you can tell. And sometimes I had some pretty tough trust issues, so I'm not perfect. But with that being said, do you see what I'm saying? It's like when I look back at it, like, I guess all of those people were, I guess, decently solid candidates for something, right? Or do I have to find the person? And I guess this is where I'm at, where it's like, because then the other thing too is with her, it's like I feel like I would give that a chance, but then you're also, you add the long distance thing into it across the country. It's like, how do we really make that work? And it's like, okay, she wasn't perfect, but no one's perfect. So then that makes me think, oh shit, maybe I should give it a chance. She's not perfect, but she really is in alignment with me. And that's where I get stuck, where I'm like, avoidant Chris, ego Chris, Chris that believes that he could always reach new heights. His side of his brain is thinking, just keep going, Chris. Just be single. Don't hit her up. Don't talk to her. And eventually you're going to find a girl that is even more in alignment with you and is really pretty and just like her and, you know, is doing the things that I'm doing. Now, is it going to be perfect? Looking at my history, I don't think it's ever going to be, right? Because I don't think anybody could be. So at some point, I got to diminish that. I got to let go of that. And then that's what the other side of the brain is telling me. It's like, Chris, you have this avoidant nature. You have this nature where you don't fully give things a full chance and you are critical. And, you know, what you should be doing is maybe giving somebody more of a chance. And maybe you'd actually be happier by submitting yourself to one of these people, right? And I guess specifically in my life right now, I think about the long distance situation. Cause like I think about it, I'm like, I do care about her. I do see her being somebody that, like, when push comes to shove, if I was in a hospital, I would want her next to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, when push comes to shove, if I could pick one person to be around right now, it would be her. Honest. But that's what's crazy is, like, do you pick that person that, you know, was supposed to be there? Or again, the other side of the brain tells me you're just feeling lonely or you just don't have that companionship right now. And if you just stay the course on what you're doing, you will find greatness. You will also find another great partner. I think both are true. And I think that's really the hard part. Both are really true. So I'm like, fuck me. And that's where I'm at, ladies and gentlemen. Stuck on the line, baby. Just walking on a thin line. You guys know the John song, walking on a thin line. That's what I'm doing, baby. And here's the thing, you know, just speaking all that out made me feel a lot better. So I feel a lot better. Thank you for that. Thank you for letting me air that out. And I'm sorry if that was fucked up in any way. But I guess, you know, here's what the plan and me, Jay, devised. We kind of did this is, and this is going to suck because this girl fucking listens to this. So like, you know, whatever. And maybe she doesn't. No, she's going to. Let's be honest. The hard part is I want to give it more time and just kind of see how I truly feel. Like, let's say I give it another month, 2 months, right? And just kind of see where I'm at. Like, let this situation, you know, because again, I don't want to just do it in ego, right? Okay, I'm feeling weird because I slept with some girl that I shouldn't, not that I shouldn't have, but that I didn't really want to do. Again, if this other girl was here, I wouldn't even be fucking with anybody else. I really would not. Swear on my life. Part of me is like, yo, I want to call her and be like, yo, all right, you either move to Arizona or stop fucking calling me ever again. You know what I'm saying? I'm that close. I'm like, yo, either move here right now or make a plan to move here or just stop hitting me up entirely. Like we got to cut it out. And maybe she won't even hit me up anymore because of this last video. Maybe that'll be the last straw, but then I don't really know. Anyways, so here's my plan. If she doesn't hit me up, right, over the next couple weeks, months, my plan is to just kind of see how I feel over the next month or two. Now, if she meets somebody and she ends up with somebody and she's really happy, you know, go ahead. I guess, you know, I at the end of the day, I do respect her and love her enough that I want her to be happy. And if that's with me or with somebody else, then so be it. I have to accept that, especially because I have had to take this amount of time to, you know, work through and process the things that I'm feeling. But maybe, I guess what could potentially happen is see how I'm feeling in a month or two. If I'm still feeling the same way where I'm like, I still think about her or I'm like, I really want to give it a try, then maybe I call her and I just say, hey, like, where are you at? You know what I'm saying? Maybe I come back to New York, see her or something like that, and give it a shot. Or maybe I go a month or two and I'm like, oh, you know what? Actually, I'm pretty good. Maybe I was like overreacting to the moment and the situation. And maybe I do want to just kind of see what else is out there and just live my life. So I think that's kind of the best course forward. But yeah, I don't know. This is the hard part about fucking life, dating, whatever. It's never a straight line though. And you know, that's what's funny. Again, I was talking about the client that I helped with her avoidant guy. And what was interesting, if you look at their timeline as a whole, when they first started talking, they were just fucking. And then she held her boundary. They didn't talk for like 2 months. And then after she came back, she was the one who came back first off. And then they were friends with benefits for another 3 months. But the change was she was still like, doing her own thing and shit. And then eventually he's just like, actually, I really like you and I really want this relationship. And then they now have grown, bro. Now they have an awesome ass fucking relationship. Now she's hella happy. They've been hella consistent. It's kind of wild. But he said the same thing to her. He said, yo, I've never dated a girl where I've looked at her and said, oh man, I could probably have kids with that girl. That's what I'm trying to say in a weird way. Like I truly, like that's what I'm saying. If somebody's like, yo, you got to pick right now, like pick right now. I'd be like, okay, her 1000% without question. But it's almost just like, I don't know. I guess let's see where life goes. All right, enough about me. Let's talk about you. I want to talk about how to handle a love bomber, because what I've been experienced with a lot of people I've been working with this week is, here's the thing. Guys are going to speed you up. I'm telling you right now, every single guy you encounter that, really likes you is more than likely going to pursue. And here's what guys are going to do. And here's what we need to understand. You want to know why guys love bomb? Is because we want to get to what we want as quickly as possible. And to be honest, and I'm just serious, women, you hold the access. And what you don't recognize, and this is what we're going to talk about too, about boundaries, is the more that you can understand your own access and the access to you, and the better you are at controlling that, the better you are at controlling the pace, the better you are at holding your boundaries with these men that are going to push you and push you and push you, that is what's going to make you look and feel more valuable than the next. Because a lot of girls, they don't really have great boundaries. And that's the thing. For instance, I'll give you a situation that I had this week with a client. This guy met her on Instagram, right? They've been DMing hot and heavy every single day. Turned around within the first week and asked her for nude pictures. Obviously, some girls, maybe you're just like, fuck it. He's asking for nudes. I'll send him. I'm working with her. I'm like, fuck no, you're not sending it. Hell no. She's like, I don't want to do that. She's like, I do like this guy, but I just like, I feel like he's like fuckboy energy. And I feel like it's like difficult. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, I was like, listen, if he's asking for that, like, whoa, fuck all that. I'm like, if he wants to really chill with you and spend some time with you, he's going to. She's continuing the conversation with him. If he said something like that, she's ignored it. He then brings up hanging out. But then he's like, oh, you know what? I can't really do weekends. I only do weekdays. And then my client turned around and told me, she's like, Chris, like, what's really annoying about that is, weekdays aren't as good for me. Weekends are a little bit better. Now, here's the thing. You don't need to be hard completely, but this is what I told her. I was like, it's important that you make sure that it's a time that does work for you. And that's the thing too. It's like, homie has been balking at it. He's like, you know what I'm saying? He'll be like, she'll be like, okay, so like, when am I going to see you? He's like, soon. If a guy says soon, you fucking leave that shit. That's what I'm trying to talk about. The access to you. We went from nude pictures to let's hang out soon to, okay, let's hang out this week or let's hang out upcoming. And then it was like, all right, if I don't go on this trip, I'm going to see you. And then he hits her up and she asks, yo, are you likely to go on this trip? He's like, actually 75% I'm not going. She's like, do I ask him if he wants to hang out then? I was like, fuck no, you don't. Fuck no, you don't. She's like, I really like it when they have a plan. So I was like, okay, if you know that you really like having a plan, you let him make the fucking plan. And this is what we're talking about. With the love bombing and the shit like this, where these people are texting you and doing all this shit. If you know what you want, and this is also about boundaries, you cannot continue to accept because you're so eager and wanting to spend time with him. I know he's attractive. I know he's been messaging you every day. But if you want that plan, you do not hang out with him without a plan. So I said, all right, I said, just like that message. You don't need to say, okay, can I see you? Fuck no. If you're a girl and you fucking do that, fuck no. Cut that shit out. You like that fucking message. Oh, you're okay. You might. Okay. You haven't told me a plan. You haven't told me where. You haven't told me when. I'm not fucking with that. Eventually, I think she just messaged me right now. He's setting up a plan. Do you see how we went from nude pictures? Hey, can I get nude pictures to now I'm planning a date? Because we didn't fucking accept that. We didn't fucking send the nudes just because, no, fuck all that. Now let's go to love bomber number 2. I also have a girlfriend who she's been messaging and hanging out with this new guy, and he's just in it off the jump. And she doesn't really know how to handle this because in her life right now, I think what she really needs and wants is a partner that shows balance. And that's what I think everybody, we all should be looking for, is a partner that is showing interest, making plans, but is not being overbearing, is not messaging you every day, is not trying to hang out with you, telling you baby. If they're fucking sending good morning messages every day, if they're telling you baby and they don't even fucking know you, that's a massive red flag. You got to be careful with people like this. And that's what's happening. She meets this guy. And essentially, she thought he was attractive, cool. And he's already inviting her on trips, 10-day trips, and calling her babe, hey, baby. And she messages me, Chris, yo, I don't know what to do. Like, this really gives me an ick. Like, when they are going way too hard, way too fast, especially when I told him that I wanted to do casual. Because, again, she's in that phase where she doesn't really want to do, anything serious. She's a little emotionally unavailable. But it's still an ick. That he's trying and doing all these things. But this is what I told her. I was like, listen, you control the access. If you don't like him doing those things or saying those things, communicate it. We got to be saying it. And a lot of the times we don't say it. We go along with it. We go along with it. We go along with it. And that's where you guys are getting stuck with the love bombers, is because you're so eager to find love. So let's take another girl who's not avoidant and is, emotionally unavailable in the opposite way, in the anxious way, right? If some guy was like, let's go to Tahoe, let's do a 10-day trip. A lot of you girls be like, all right, let's go. I have one client where literally the first day they had like 3 or 4 4-hour phone calls in a row. He's like, I know I want to be with you. Like, let's be exclusive right now. They hadn't even met up yet. And she agreed to it. You agreed to being exclusive and you never met yet? Listen, I know you're eager for security. I know you want that. But this is where we need to do a much better job, is in the beginning, you got to be patient and you hold the access. And here's the greatest part. The more that you control the access towards you, the more self-confident you feel, look, and will ultimately get the things that you want. If you want plans, if you want them to show up a little bit harder, that's what needs to happen. First off, it's going to, number one, be more attractive. Because think about it. I even said to the girl with the nude thing, I was like, imagine the girl that sends the nudes. Automatically done. You're automatically the fucking whore. No offense. You're automatically the girl that sends nudes, and you're not getting me. You're now just some girl I have nudes with on my phone. The most you're going to get from me is dick. Swear to God. I'm just keeping it a million. And you know what? Listen, let never say never. Will there somebody where it will turn up? Maybe. And again, even with the situation with the guy where they went exclusive, did they go really hot and heavy? But what happened? 4 weeks later, 8 weeks later, here's the other problem with letting the love bomber in and going along with their plan. Here's the problem. Again, they give you a false sense of security, right? Because they're telling you all the things you want to hear. They're calling you baby. First off, they don't fucking know you, but they're telling you those things. You think it's real. The problem is you assume, wow, they wouldn't be calling me 7 times a day or hanging out with me all the time if they didn't really love me. He still doesn't fucking know you. And sooner or later, I'm telling you, tick, 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 tick. Wait for 2 months. 2 months, baby. What happens? Phone calls stop happening. Texting stops happening. Energy starts to shift because it starts to get too real. And they finally get to know who you are. And they can now feel and sense your insecurity. That's what's happening. Because now you want that commitment and security so much, and you want to now spend all that time, and you are feeling good because they were giving you all of their time, and now that's what you expect. And now because you expect all that time, that energy from that person, sorry, that's too many expectations. That's too much. But if you would have controlled the access and you would have been more patient, first off, you would have came off more self-confident and you would have built that foundation. And here's the other thing. You will then get to see whether or not they are within your values or not. And that is the key with the love bombers, is you need to be the one that slows them down. And this is guy or girl. If a girl's love bombing you, cool. If some girl's trying to do all that, trying to hang out, chill the fuck out. Let's hang out this week, maybe next week, and who fucking knows? Just relax. We're going to get to know each other really slow. I don't need a rush. Seriously, I honestly, even for me, like as a guy, I really want to learn to not say I love you within the first 6 months, not fucking, give them such intense amount of energy and prioritize myself still. Because it just creates such a better relationship. And that's how you know somebody's secure and healthy, is when they could show up balanced. When they could give you good energy, but they're not ghosting you for days on end. And here's the other thing though too. In the beginning, right, when we're talking about the first, few weeks, even month, right? Like you might not be texting every day. You might not be calling every day. You might not have a plan this week. Maybe it'll be next week. Doesn't mean it's terrible and it's done. People are the more that they like you, the progress is going to happen over time. It is. So that's what you need to trust, is that if you have good boundaries and you control the access and you slowly let people in your life, first off, you're protecting yourself by pacing it out. So if they only want to fuck you, you're going to be able to get that vibe. So what's the next step for this girl, nude pic girl, and this guy hanging out on the date? Now, we can't let our guard down. He's still shown fuckboy energy. So what are we going to do? We get on that date. Let's not fuck him, please. Please. I know you're excited. I know you're eager, but what do you really want? You want emotional security. You want a relationship. So let's stay hard to that boundary. It's all about what you value and what you want. But the thing is, you get swayed. So in her particular situation, let's say they hang out and he's trying to fucking throw hands in the pants in fucking 5 hours. What are we doing? All right, deny that shit. The fuck you doing, bro? Cut that shit out. Because that's the thing. He ain't gonna hang out with you 6-7 times, and you're not putting out, and all he wants to do is fuck. Eventually, he's gonna get sick of that. Now, is there gonna be guys where they you get to know them a little bit deeper, y'all fuck, or maybe you fuck pretty off the jump, and shit just doesn't work out? Yeah, there's also times where you could fuck pretty quick, and it could work out. There's nothing wrong with that. My whole point is, it's about what's the vibe they're given, right? Because if they're showing up really secure and they took their time to get to know you and all that stuff, I don't think there's any problem actually sleeping with somebody if there's good vibes and good energy. But the other problem is, remember, women, y'all are the ones, for the most part, that get attached after sex. So you got to understand that. And you got to know that about yourself. So again, to deal with the love bomber is, you need to be good with your boundaries. You need to control the access. And the more that you control the access and the slower that you make it, the more high value you seem and the more high value you will come off. And the better the results you'll get, because you'll protect yourself from people that are just trying to chase you quick. And also too, like, it really should be a super unattractive turnoff if homie is literally calling you babe, good morning, doing all this shit. To me, that's too much. Really? You don't find that insecure? You know what I'm saying? You're not saying, like, what is that? Homie's doing something crazy. And that's what I'm trying to say. I'll tell you right now, from my experience working with a fuck ton of women and people in general, the guys that end up, their energy shifts and are avoidant, a lot of them love bomb. Because what they do is they just want to get you on the hook as quickly as possible. Because usually they're trying to fill that next connection, right? They're just trying to fill up that next connection so they can get to know you. They suck the life out of you for 3-4 months and they spit you back out and they find somebody else to do it. So what they're doing is they don't want to, it's a lot of time to get to know somebody, to just bang or to just have that closeness. So it's much easier when you find people that are willing to accept all that energy so fast. So my whole point is, I'm not saying that just because they're love bombing doesn't mean, my whole thing is, if they are love bombing, it's not real. Because again, they don't know you. They do not know you. That's the key. You would have to remember that. If they're telling you all these things within the first 2 weeks, how are you listening to that? Don't tell me, oh, you're the dopest fucking girl I've ever met. You're the hottest. You're the coolest. You're the fucking, you're so down to earth. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, yeah, you know what? You're just so different. Are you? Let's be honest. Human beings, we're like 99.9% alike. What is so different about you? No offense. We all try to hold on to this identity like we're so fucking different than the rest of the world. No, you're not. Sorry. You are the same as Sally and Jennifer. I mean, yeah, there's got to be some differences. Mr. Critical over here. Trust me, I just gave you every single fucking one. But to my point is, if you looked at that, again, we go back to my, looking at the dating history. Everybody's got pros and cons. You're not perfect. And that's the thing is, eventually they're going to find that out. And if they're telling you that you are perfect, they're lying. honestly, they're lying because they don't even know you fully. They don't know your flaws. And the way that you're showing up, let's be honest, you're showing your best side. You're not showing your anxiety that deep yet. And that's the other thing you got to work on too, is if you're a highly anxious person, especially early on in dating, you got to get that resolved. I'm just going to keep it real. Or just in general, right? Like, you got to work on your self-confidence. You got to work on your boundaries. And literally, what I help people with directly, because that is the secret sauce. The key is finding balance in the way that you're showing up. I'm still showing up connected, but I'm still protecting myself. And in that way, I'm going to show up the most self-confident and have the best success. So somebody asked me in the TikTok comments or some shit, they were like, yo, what the fuck does holding your boundaries really mean? And I guess I just gave some examples, right? Again, the nude picture, not giving into that. Here's the key. What a boundary really is to me is understanding what is valuable to you and being able to communicate that and stay disciplined to what you feel like is essential. Does that make sense? What you truly feel like is essential, you are able to communicate it confidently and stand on it. That's what holding a boundary is. If you know that you want a relationship, right? For instance, that's a boundary. That's something that you want to eventually move to. Now, here's the thing. What's really tricky is with boundaries, they have to be a little bit flexible. And also sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get there. And what I like to do, and something I do with with all my clients actually, is we get to the root of why you have the boundaries that you do. So for instance, I'm going to give away one of the boundaries that one of my client has. One of my clients, she says, I don't want to have sex until I'm in a relationship. I said, that's interesting. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. This client has had sex prior to relationships a few times since I've been talking to her. So already we're breaking them. But, with that being said, what I'm recognizing is sometimes you have boundaries that you don't actually fully understand, or you don't even know why you're saying the words that you're saying. So what we did was I broke it down with her and I said, okay, why is that? Why do you not want to have sex until you're in a relationship? Oh, well, I've just gotten fucked over before. And I don't want to get attached and, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, understandable. So really what this boundary is more about is you have a fear of being used. You do not want to be used for sex. So your idea of holding people against that is, oh, we are going to have to be in a relationship. But what does that do? The problem is it pigeonholes you, right? Think about this. If you meet a guy and you guys are building really slowly, maybe he is very secure. Maybe you do feel really safe. And I'm sure she probably would have sex with him, to be honest. But I think that's what we got down to is her boundary is more when I feel safe and secure, that is when I'm open to having sex. It doesn't have to be when you're in a full relationship, because when you do that, this is what happens. Let's say you meet a guy, right? And that is your boundary. Oh, I don't have sex till I'm in a relationship. What is he going to do? Oh, well, I really like you a lot. Like, I feel like we should date. Let's be exclusive. Because what you did was you just put a bullshit gate. But really what it is, it's more about the feelings of security. It's not about the words or the BS. You understand what I'm saying? So you really have to get smart about what it is that you want and the way that you're operating in relationships. But really what it comes down to is if you value something or something bothers you, or there's a certain way you want to be treated, to me, that's what a boundary is. And what holding your boundaries means is you know the way that you want to be treated, and you make sure and you hold people that you are having relationships with accountable to the way that you want to be treated. For instance, I always also give the example of, hey, some people like when you take your shoes off when they go in their house. Now, if somebody is your friend, wouldn't they do that? Probably, right? If you're my fucking friend, I'm like, dude, take your fucking shoes off when you come in my house. Okay. Now, there's some people, right, that here's the thing. And here's the problem with boundaries in general. There are times where, like, for instance, if you're a people pleaser and a guy walks into your house, walks up your fucking stairs, you have carpet, you have shoes on, will you really say something? Will you say, hey, no shoes on? Or will you be like, oh, you know what? That's okay. That's fine. I usually don't let people put shoes on the carpet, but for you, it's okay. Why? And this is what happens in dating all the time. And think about this. This is where you get taken advantage of. Again, this is why we attract the takers and the narcissists, right? It's because we are unwilling to speak up for the ways that we want to be treated because we think that we're being mean to them. Is it really that mean to take your fucking shoes off before you go in the house? Not really. I want to tell you how I want to be treated. And the key is the people that respect you and love you and truly do value you will respect your boundaries. For instance, you go back to the sex comment. The guy that actually gives a shit about you is not going to abandon you because you won't fuck him. People don't abandon people they love. People only abandon the people they are using. That's a gem. But you get what I'm saying? Is if you show people how to treat you, that's what holding your boundaries is. Holding your boundaries is knowing the ways in which you want to be treated and expressing those things to people and being firm on those things. The other part is, let's say, to go back to the shoe comment, let's say hypothetically I told you to take your shoes off and then you just didn't, right? And this is what happens a lot with girls when they say, I really want commitment. And the guy's like, I just don't really know if I'm into that right now. And then what happens? You still fuck. You still hang out. That's again, it's like if somebody walked into my house and I said, hey, I don't really like shoes in the house. And they said, all right. They just took their shoes and they just fucking stomped it all over my carpet. They walked up to my stairs and then I walked upstairs and I was like, well, you're fucking here anyways. I'm too afraid to tell them, no, motherfucker, get the fuck out. But that's the key is, again, we are completely, think about that. When you don't hold your boundary, what happens? You're either getting your shit stomped on, your carpet stomped on, or again, you have to sit there and accept something less than what you want, which you then will have resentment over that person. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of guy that's in your house. He's stomping on your carpet. He's eating your food. And then you're sitting there, you're bubbling mad. And then you fucking explode because you're like, but you didn't take your shoes off and you're eating all my food. Fuck you. And you have that moment. It's like, why let it get to that point? Just tell them initially what you want because you're going to come off more self-confident. And that's what holding your boundaries really means, right? It's, again, knowing those things that are essential to you. And you could write them down. Honestly, this is what I do with the people I work with. Write the things down. And again, usually you'd work with a coach to understand the root of it and to, solidify them. But for the most part, it's about communicating those things when needed and not allowing people to bend those. Now, there's going to be times where sometimes shit happens. You break your own boundary, and the key is not to hold any guilt towards it, but just next time. So for instance, let's say somebody comes to my house and they have their shoes on, and I didn't really notice. And then I noticed when they were up here, and I was like, hey, man, next time, can you just take your shoes off? I'd really appreciate that. Okay, I communicated after fact. Let's say you fucking, I don't know. Let's say one of your boundaries is you really you only like to hang out on the weekends, or you don't hang out on workday nights, or you don't like getting picked up from your house. These are all things that you could value or appreciate. And, for some reason that one night, I don't fucking know, you let a guy come over your house, or you let him bend the rules once in a while. It's going to happen. It's okay. And sometimes, my whole point is boundaries are meant to be a little bit flexible in the sense of there are just going to be times where there's a little bit of fucking leeway, right? But for the most part, you should be holding really, really, really fucking firm to the things that you care about because you're going to come off more self-confident. You're going to actually, because here's the best part. If we have boundaries, right? And let's go back to the fucking shoe carpet thing. You guys fucking love it. The thing is, if I tell you that I don't like shoes in my house and you respect it, all right, we're cool. If I tell you that and you don't respect it, okay, now I know what kind of person doesn't belong in my life. Because what happens is if you have really good boundaries, and this is with family, this is with friends, this is with romantic relationships, the only people that you allow into your energy and into your circle are only people that respect the way that you want to be treated. You get what I'm saying? So then you build a circle around you, romantic relationships, friendships, even family. I limit the amount of family time if they really are negative to me, right? Or with certain friends, hey, I don't like the way that you treat me. That doesn't belong. Or I don't like when you speak to me like that. And if they keep doing it, that's it. Goodbye. What are we doing? And again, this is where people will then they will respect you more, right? You got to assert yourself. You have to make sure that you're speaking on your values. And again, this is what self-confidence is. This is how you get the things that you want. Okay, last thing I want to talk about. Playing hard to get. Somebody asked me, Chris, how do you play hard to get? Now, think about what we were just talking about. It's not about playing hard to get. It's not that. Playing doesn't do shit for you because people know how you authentically feel. So for a lot of anxious people, right, the thought is, oh, you know what? Like, I'm just going to act like I don't really care, you know? And that's what happens at the beginning is a lot of people that have that anxious attachment, they'll act like they don't care in the first month or two, or they'll be really good with their boundaries for a month or two, but really underneath, they're very fearful and they're actually still very scared. And once that person actually gets comfortable and close, that's when the anxiety comes out. But here's the issue with that. You could play the game. You could play hard to get. You could play like, and again, we're talking about holding the access to you. If that's not rooted in authentic, genuine self-confidence, the problem is this. You hold those boundaries, they fall in love with the girl that holds her boundaries. They fall in love with the girl that is again, spending time with her friends or not giving, her full self to you right off the jump. And then if that anxious attachment comes out afterwards, and now you are so concerned about spending time with them all the time, you lose your independence in the relationship. They are now also seeing a different side of you. They're also, again, now they might be like, ooh, this is a little bit too much. Because what it was you were playing the game. That's the problem. You can't play the game. You can't. What you need to do is you need to work on your self-confidence, really understand what you value, hold your fucking boundaries, and just get stronger and better about building that self-confidence, that independent muscle, so that when you get into a relationship, you just get really, really good at having direct communication, letting them know how you feel, and you have that balance, that yin and that yang, the side of compassion and the side of accountability. That's what you really need in a relationship to be successful, is finding that middle ground between, okay, you know what? You're not perfect. I'm going to show you a little bit of love on certain things. I'm going to take it easy on you. But if you're fucking with my values or you're doing something I really don't like, I'm going to speak up for myself and I'm going to tell you how the fuck it is, because I don't care who the fuck you are. I'm letting you know that I don't like that. And again, you don't have to say it in an angry way. But my whole point is having that yin and that yang keeps the perfect balance. And that's what we're looking for in a partner too, right? Isn't that the way you want them to show up? He could talk shit a little bit to you, but at the same time, he can give you a hug and a kiss. It's the same thing, both genders, both sides. You have to be able to be that soft, feminine, show that love, show that compassion, but also at the same time, not get taken advantage of. Have really good boundaries. Know what it is that you value. When he's fucking around or he's doing something that you really don't like, you know how to communicate it directly. Hey, honey, I don't like when you're looking at other girls. I really don't respect that. Oh, it's not a big deal. It's a big deal to me, actually. So I would appreciate it if that's something you didn't do, because I just don't really like that. All right. And you could pose it. So here's the thing. It's like, what if I was looking at other guys? What if I was gawking at some dude? Would you like that? Probably not. All right. So then why do you do it? I don't know. I'm sorry. All right, let's fuck. Healthy challenge also makes the sexual dynamic and the chemistry so much better. Because when you're a people pleaser, you wonder why when you're snuggling up to him and trying to touch his dick, he's like, get the fuck out of here. Stop touching me. Because you're coming in too soft. I'm keeping it real. Because you're not asserting yourself. Again, you're fucking up the yin and the yang. You are fucking up the balance. You are fucking up the boundaries. More than likely, you need to have more accountability. Now, there's other side too, right? Think about men, right? There's a lot of men that have the accountability side and are so hard on their boundaries and they're so self-assured, they're charismatic, they're all the things, but they don't have the soft side. They don't have the presence. They don't have the awareness. They don't have the ability to just sit there and understand how you feel and give you that quality time. They're going to push all those girls away. You have to find balance on, like I said, both genders have to find a middle ground. And that is where you're going to find success. And again, you don't need to play the game. Playing the game to me means you're in fear. That means you are leading with fear. You're not leading with confidence. Your fear is, I need to change myself, or I can't show up authentic because that my authentic self is not really worthy, or I feel like I'm not really worthy underneath. So what you do is you put on the facade of potentially the really super confident girl or super confident person, and then eventually that house falls down. And then eventually on the back end, you pay for it. You build a house on a shitty foundation, it will come down. The first fucking gust of wind is going to take that motherfucker down. So you are so much better working on your own self-confidence, learning how to set boundaries, and being very direct about what it is that you want and authentic. Yes. Are you going to push some people away? Yes. Are there going to be people in your life when you start upholding your boundaries, when you start asserting yourself, that are not going to be there anymore? No, they're not. Because again, they only care about you. They only hang out with you because they're fucking using you. I'm just keeping it real. The only reason they have you around is because of what you're providing for them at the cheap. You're free labor. You're the offshore labor that's $6 an hour. You know what I'm saying? You're hanging outside of Home Depot asking if they need some help. That's probably fucked up. But you get what I'm saying? Like, that's what it is. Again, it's all about the way that you're valuing yourself, and the way that you value yourself shows in your boundaries. What you think is essential. Are you able to communicate that? Are you standing firm on it? Because that shows your value. Hey, my price is $50. I'm firm on that because that's what I'm worth. Okay, I'll buy that. Actually, it seems like a better product because you seem more confident. Hey, my coochie's $5, but I'll give it to you for $3 if you just hang out with me. Oh, look at this crap. All right, spit on that. Fucking bum. Get out of here. Think about it. You are going to be literally treated differently, and your price is higher. You understand what I'm saying? You make the access to you higher, the better people treat you, the better people you attract because you are coming off more self-confident and you got better boundaries. I hope this is all making sense. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to put the pieces together. Whole point is, know what it is that you value, have your boundaries on point, control the access to you. If people are love bombing you, be really careful about that. And really just remember the timeline. You don't know who somebody is until 3-4 months in. They don't know who you are when they're telling you that they love you. And show up authentic, because if you don't show up authentic and you play the game, first off, it's rooted in fear, right? It's not rooted in confidence. And essentially, again, you are going to pay for it on the back end. All you're doing is you're planting a fucking shitty plant, or you're planting a shitty seed that is poisonous, and eventually it's going to grow into a shitty ass poisonous plant. And it's going to be garbage, and you're going to throw it out, and then you're going to be like, fuck this plant. It didn't even fucking grow. Well, I'm like, shitty seed, shitty soil. Wasn't real. Shitty example, but you get the point. All right. I love you. I will see you next week.